I think if everyone has the goal to inspire other people and themselves, that the world will get a little bit more a better place. And especially in the horse world. And they see me playing with my horse and rearing up and everything. And they're watching me like, what the hell is she doing? When I was younger, I got like ashamed, and I always only played with my horses when I was alone at the stables. But right now, I just don't give a damn anymore. I have fun, and everyone can hear that, and everyone can see that. So yeah, I will probably tell myself, never feel ashamed of having fun with your horses.
Welcome to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs podcast, a source for riding and training insights with the goal of helping your horse be a happy, light, and willing partner. I'm your host, Amalia Dempsey, a mainstream equestrian rider who discovered natural horsemanship, and now I help riders like you achieve connection and communication, so you can have more fun and fulfillment whilst prioritising partnership with your horse. Want to find out my horse training philosophy? Access the free Connection and Communication mini course at amaliadempsey.com. Now sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Horsemanship Breakthroughs podcast. I can't believe we're already up to episode 10, and I'm really excited to share with you this episode because I'm interviewing Romy from Equine Motions. She has an absolutely beautiful Instagram account, so I reached out to her and she said yes, and I'm really excited to share with you our really amazing, open and honest conversation about her getting over her fear of riding, about all of her different horses. We spoke about positive and negative reinforcement, the use of draw reins, the bits versus bitless debate, why she doesn't compete anymore. And Romy also answers some listener questions about her tips on building a relationship with a new horse, and so much more. So I really want to jump into this episode, but before I do that, I just want to read a little bit about Romy so you can understand a bit of a background about her. So she says, my name is Romy and I am a rider with a purpose. Equine Motions was founded in 2014 and since then has grown with me in my experience with horses. Equine Motions has always been an expression of my passion. I was happy to share my experiences with my own horses online. The more I grew into this and became more aware of training, the well-being of horses, and the power of body language, the more it became my goal to make other horse owners aware of this. I wish everyone the pleasure I experience with my own horses, both in training and in care. Getting a bond with a horse is quite a task, and I'm happy to support you in that. A horse's behavior always has a reason. By resting, reading the horse, translating it to the owner, and giving the right resources to work on, I try to find the harmony between you and your horse. I do this through groundwork, but also under the saddle. If I've learned something from my 6 horses, it's that no horse thinks the same. Every horse has its own learning pace, and every horse needs a listening ear. I follow one rule, and that is have fun. Oh my gosh, reading that blurb about Romy, I just think, yes, that's everything that I agree with as well. That's everything that I'm all about. And if you're thinking that too, then you're going to absolutely love this episode. So let's dive in. Okay, welcome Romy to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs podcast. Thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk with you today, and I know that our guests will get a lot out of listening to you. So once again, thank you and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to join you.
Can you tell us to start off with how you got into horses and what has led you to where you are today?
Well, I got into horses when I was like 4 years old. My mom is also into horses. And when I was 4 years old, she broke horses under the saddle. So she took me with her. And actually, she broke one horse on the saddle and his name was Ian. And eventually she bought him. And we still have him. So from that moment, I actually always been around horses. And when I was 8 years old, I got my own Shetland pony, Dora. And I started riding then. and getting into more like the horse training. And when I was 13 years old, I really started to invest more time in things around riding and focusing more on the welfare of the horse, besides training.
Nice. And how old are you now? So from the age of 13 to now, what happened in that time?
Oh, a lot. I was like when I was 13, like 8 to 13, I was a very rider with a lot of fear. So I was constantly thinking, what if my horse spooks? Oh, what if I fall off? And it was so frustrating because I had such a big love for horses and I really wanted to ride and do my best, but my fear stopped me in so many things. So I think from 13 to 16, I started to do more groundwork, and I actually felt so comfortable in groundwork that comfort also, I took the comfort with me in the saddle. After developing myself in groundwork. And the fear actually faded away from that time. And now I'm a super confident rider. I still know my limits. I don't need to cross it because then I can come back into that fear. I know that from myself. But yeah, a lot of things happen in that period of time, but I mostly develop myself a lot in horse behavior and how I can read them. So I don't have to think, oh, what if? Because I already most of the time know the answer before everything happens.
Yes, I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that because we've all had experiences with horses where we've realized, oh no, they actually are, or they can be quite dangerous. And I think it should give a lot of people hope that once you do start to get a relationship and when you do start to learn how to read your horse, it's actually a lot safer because you'll get a lot of signs before you even put yourself in those dangerous situations. So that's really nice to hear. Can you tell us, what does a day in the life of Romy look like now?
What a day in my life looks like? Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it's a little bit different than normal because things are obviously a little bit different right now due to the coronavirus. My days never look the same, I can tell you that. I have my horses at home, so when I wake up, the first thing I do is take care of the horses. I feed them, I take them out. And after that, I work from home. So I do a lot of designing, like in corporate design. And I'm a photographer. I try, well, my photography is a little bit off right now because people don't like to do a photo shoot because there are risks due to the coronavirus. But I still try to develop myself in my free work with photography. So sometimes I spend time to that. But after work, I go into the stables again and train the horses. And that's mostly in the afternoon and the midnight. And then I end my day with feeding the horses again, taking them in and mucking the stable. So yeah, really, my days are always filled with horses.
Yes, that sounds good to me. I didn't know you were into photography, and that explains why your Instagram is so beautiful. And I've also noticed on Instagram you've got so many horses. Can you tell me about your horses and each of their personalities?
Well, thank you for your compliment about the pictures. That's always good to hear. I have 6 horses. Well, I already mentioned Ian before. Ian is an Irish Cup from now, I think, 18 years old. He's a gelding. Ian has a strong opinion in what he likes and what he doesn't like. Well, opinion, I think it's more of a strong voice, and I love that he has that. Ian is not a horse that likes to train dressage or train very hard in the riding arena, but he's a perfect trail horse because he's so confident and never scared of anything. So he's a horse that I feel really safe with. When I'm on the trail ride, there's not a moment that I think, oh my god, he can scare or jump away. He's just super confident in his environment, and I love that about him. Second is Dora. Dora is a Shetland pony. She's a mare, and she's a mare. So she has a very strong character, a very big personality. But because she has that strong personality, and because she is a mare, she's also like a leading part of the herd. She is always focusing on her surroundings, what is happening, and she really is enjoying life. And I love about her. I love that I can see from her that she really enjoys life and also the little moments. And she also taught me that, to look into the little moments more and spend way more time to that. But she has a strong character, and if you can't give that time, she also won't open up to you. So she has a big wall around her, but as soon as you break through that, she's such a sweet little lady. And then I have Eastern. He was the third horse we got. Eastern is a Connemara pony. He is now 22 years old. He's a gelding, and also has a very strong opinion. He gave me some hard times in the past when I was younger, but that taught me also so much. He's a really schoolmaster in everything he does. Super control over his body. He has, how can I say that good? He has such a balanced mind. So there's not 1 second he doubts himself. He's so confident, and that also shows in dominance sometimes. And he also likes to put me in the spot if I doing something wrong or I'm not feeling well and I'm pushing myself over my boundaries. So yeah, he's a great horse, and I can't imagine life without him anymore, because he taught me so much, not only in horses, but also just in life. He gave me so many lessons. And then I have Top Shot. Top Shot is a trotter, also gelding. I think now 17 years old. He came from the racetrack here in the Netherlands. And he had a lot of issues when I met him. And together with my mom, we made it our job to give him a comfortable life again and to retire him. He had food aggression. Riding him was impossible because he just went up with his head and went backwards instead of forward. But that was all because I think he never had someone that took the time to understand him. He always got pushed to do something. And when he finally had people that gave him the opportunity to actually bloom his personality, he changed completely. In the beginning, we couldn't touch him. We couldn't pat him on the head. Right now, you can cuddle with him for 30 minutes straight and he will sleep next to you. He's such a sweet character and has a very big temperament. But what I love about him is that he can go from 100 to 0, but also the other way around. So he can switch from hot to very relaxed. So I think he also, when he came to us, he didn't have a balanced mind, but right now he's far to there, and he really grew as a horse too. I'm sorry, but I can't go on for hours about my horses. So if I'm taking too long, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm exactly the same.
Then I have Yakari, and Yakari is a crossbreed between a quarter horse and an Appaloosa. And Yakari is actually the first horse that I chose on my own. The rest of the horses are always shared with my mom. She always also went with me to buy a horse or to see a horse. And now it was just me on my own. And I bought Yakari to really fit my character, my personality. And I always had a dream to educate a young horse with all the experience that I had from the other horses. So when he came into my life, it was a very special moment. And what I actually love about him and why I bought him is because he's so sensitive, but not in a way that he can go to a hot temperature or get spooky or anything. He stays relaxed, but he's sensitive in like aids, and you don't need to be you can't boss him around because then he will shut down. And I'm exactly the same. So we match each other so well. And he's super social. He's such a social horse. He will go to everyone, even if he never met you. He will go to you. You need to color him. He won't back off until you pet him. And he's very proud in what he does. So everything you do with him, even if I start with something completely new, we always end it and he's like standing there proud that he did right. So he has a very high work, like he has a will to work, and that's something I really need, because I also have a will to work. I never feel, okay, now I'm done with training horses. I always want to do more, and he fits with that image. And lastly, I have Oliver. Oliver is a miniature horse, and he is a real terror pony. At the moment, he is almost 2 years old, and his personality is showing up. Every day he is here more, and he gives me a hard time every day with his behavior. But right now he can just be young and play and be the terror pony he is right now. And when he turns 3, 4, I really want to work with him because it's a smart guy. He's a very smart little guy, and I can't wait to work with him and see how I can turn that smart into something very positive.
I love how they've each got their own personalities. Was it with Dora that you said that the little moments were really special? Was something special about the little moments? Was that with Dora?
Yeah. Dora's a pony that really enjoys the little things in life. So sometimes I see her standing outside in the morning and she's really enjoying the sun and just sleeping. And I don't know, I get so peaceful just watching her enjoying her life.
Amazing. And also I noticed on your Instagram, you've got in your bio, it says, aspire to inspire before we expire. Can you tell us about what this means to you?
Yes, I can. I think if everyone has the goal to inspire other people and themselves, that the world will get a little bit more better place. And especially in the horse world. So my goal is to, with my social media channels, I have like Instagram and Facebook with Equine Motions. It's really a goal for me to inspire others before I can't anymore. So we are all born with a voice. Why not use it in a good way and not in a defensive way? So yeah. Aspire to inspire before we expire is actually that I aspire to inspire before I can't anymore. And now I'm young and I can build a community or a following on Instagram. And because we have social media right now, it's very easy to inspire others. So yeah, it's really a goal for me to, when I write a caption on Instagram, even if it's just an update about me and the horses, other people can read it and be like, oh yeah, I want to try that too, or yeah, she's right, or yeah, I think that's a good way of thinking, or yeah, just any way of inspiring others is such a good feeling for me.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the whole intention behind this podcast and connecting with people like yourself. So that's awesome. I definitely agree with that. Now, the next thing that I'd like to ask you is, do you compete or have any ambitions of competitive riding with horses?
I used to do compete, but I got so fanatic in competing. I don't know how it is in Australia, but right here in the Netherlands, you ride certain points and then you can go on to the next level. And I trained very hard with Eastern in a period of time. But I hated the stress around competing. The way of making my horse look good, the training, and when you went to the competition, you needed to travel with your horse. It just didn't fit me, and also didn't fit me as a rider, because competing made me so fanatic in riding that I also forgot so many things around horses in general, because I was so focused on getting better in riding. So yeah, I don't compete anymore, and I think that's fine for me. But I do try to set goals for me that are, that I can work towards and grow as a horse person. Also, my horse themselves.
Yes, and I think we see that a lot in people who go through this journey and want a better connection with their horses. Perhaps they've come from a competitive background and then they discover this new way of being with horses, and then suddenly they start to question whether competing is really something that they want to put both themselves and their horses through. Which brings me to the next question. What do you think makes a happy horse?
Oh, so many things. I think the first one is that they need a listening ear. So if you're not willing to listen to your horse, you will also see that in the behavior of them. Just like as protest or rearing or bucking or just anything, unmotivation. So I think you really need to listen to your horse to make them happy, and also their feedings, their environment they're living in. Are they living in a herd? Are they living alone? Are they stabled a lot? There are so many aspects around having a happy horse.
Yes, yes. And your answer is very similar to a recent podcast episode we did with Asia, where we highlighted the 3Fs. I don't know if you're familiar with them: freedom, forage, and friends. So, yeah, I think it's important that not only do we think about how our horses are when we're with them, when we're training, but also how are they when we're not there? How are their living conditions? It's so important for their physical and their mental health.
Yes.
I'd like to know from you, how would you summarize your own personal training approach or philosophy when it comes to training horses?
Oh, such a hard question. I'm very open-minded when it comes to training horses. So I don't like to use one method on all the horses. I think every horse has their own personality, and you need to match that with them. And how you train, how do you approach them? And I think patience and time is very important in training. I never be like, okay, this one I'm going to teach them this, and they need to get that this month. Because it doesn't work. Not every horse is a fast learner. Not every exercise goes fast. You really need to take your time, observe, sometimes take a step backwards instead of forward, take very small steps, divide everything. So yeah, I don't really follow a training method or anything. It's just me doing something and hoping it works. But I like to observe the horse language and actually use, how they would communicate with each other. Like, how would they tell them, like, how to back off in a herd? So yeah, I really like to use that in my training as well. So how would they do it in the wild?
Yes, that makes sense. And even though you don't follow a method right now, have you followed any methods in the past? Or, who sort of taught you to be so great with horses? Was it your mum that taught you? Did you have some instructors, or did you learn online? How was it that you got to be so good?
Well, my mom actually wasn't familiar with groundwork at all, like how I do it with circling and but really I don't know how I did it. I just watched videos online of other people working with their horses. Just there was a time that we all uploaded music videos on YouTube, and I think then I realized, okay, I really want to do something with groundwork, and I tried figuring it out on my own. And I know I watched some old videos of Warwick Schiller on YouTube, and I forgot his name, Clinton Anderson, I think. And now I look back and I think, oh my God, no, that's totally not the way how I should do it. But I think that were the big names on YouTube at that moment, like Clinton Anderson and Warwick Schiller, that shared so much about groundwork. And eventually I did completely another thing on my own, because Clinton Anderson can sometimes be a little bit harsh, in how we approach horses. And that works for him, so completely fine. But it didn't work for me. So I did something completely different, and eventually I started to do some liberty around it, and that worked. And right now I'm still doing that, and also teaching others how to do that. And it actually surprises me how much horses react good to just listening to them and reading their body language, because I think a lot of people forget how important it is to read your horse and take your time to read them and not rush through a training.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what you've just said has highlighted the magic of online learning, but also the, recognition that everyone's on their own journey. And even though Clinton Anderson does what he does, it works for him, and it probably works for thousands of his followers. And everyone has a choice as to how they want to be with horses, and it's always evolving. So, and I also like how you've sort of taken influence from different areas and then kind of made your own flavor of horsemanship. I think that's a really nice. I would like to know, what advice do you think people should ignore when it comes to horses?
Wow, I love this question. Well, I think there are a lot of people that are trying to push other people in a certain direction, how they should train their horse. And I think there is mostly forgot about that not every horse likes the same training method. And like if you watch positive reinforcement, it's all over Instagram and Facebook, and that's the way how to. And I think it's a great method. If you use it correctly, and that some horses really, really do a good job on it. But not every horse does. And I think some people really need to understand that, for example, negative reinforcement is not as bad as people sometimes describe. So my advice, that's a little bit stupid to say with this question, because you just said, what would you not? But I think people should ignore other people trying to push them in a certain direction. So yeah, I think that's something that people do a lot, especially on social media.
Yes, I see that a lot as well. And you know what? I'm probably guilty of that because I remember a time when I first discovered a better way of being with horses and I wanted to tell everyone and I wanted to push all my friends to do it. And quite honestly, my friends were not ready for that. So sometimes, even though you've found what you think is a better way, other people aren't ready to hear that yet. And that's okay. Once again, everyone's on their own journey. So, is there something that you once did with horses that you now no longer do? And why is that?
Yes, I think everyone has them. If you're growing as in horses and your experience with horses, that also means that you are going to make mistakes. And in the period of time that I was competing and training very fanatic, Eastern eventually told me, no, this is not, you're going too fast. You need to take your time. You're going too fast. I don't like this anymore. And he showed that with protesting. He reared up constantly. And that was super frustrating for me at that time. And because I was a rider that still had a little bit of fear, his acting, like the rearing up, made me scared again. And that showed in frustration. I got mad at him. I cried. I got off, didn't end it well. Eventually, I told my trainer, you get on it, you fix it. And I just walked away from the problem, which didn't help, of course. It stayed the problem. He still reared up when I mounted him. Then my trainer told me, why don't you try draw reins? And looking back at that now, I want to punch myself in the face, because the only thing I did by adding draw reins, he stopped rearing up. But when I took off the draw reins, Eastern immediately reared up. I was just covering up the problem with the draw reins. So yeah, that's something that I won't ever do again. And I actually threw away the draw reins that I owned, and I will never buy them again. And also with lunging, I don't think you need them. I think it's only covering up a problem that is there that you are not willing to look at because maybe it's a sensitive area for yourself.
Yes, I embarrassingly think I was about 13 when I first used draw reins on a horse, and I cringe to think about that now. I just think, why did I go there? But, you know, I was only young and I was being guided by other people. So, yes, we've all done things that we regret.
Yeah, and you, of course, also, you listen to your trainer. If your trainer says, okay, try draw reins, then the problem disappears. Then you're like, okay, yeah, you trust that person. I don't train with her. She's not my trainer anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I'm sure she also taught you some good things as well, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Yes, yeah. So what is something that you believe is true that a lot of horse people would disagree with?
I think having a young horse when they're still like 1 and 2, people are putting them away in a younger herd until they're ready to go under the saddle. I don't agree with that. I think a young horse should grow up in a herd with young horses and older horses, to teach them how to socialize in a herd, how to back off when they need to. Older horses are so important for the harmony in the herd. And I think a lot of young horses miss that. And I think if you keep your horse in a herd with a lot of variety in age and breeds and characters, that a horse will also have a step forward in training when it's young.
Yeah, and it's surprising. A lot of studs do that. I wonder if they do it just, I don't know, for logistic reasons. They just put all their young stock together when you'd think it'd make more sense anyway to have older horses that can kind of teach that horse how to, you know, respond to pressure and release appropriately and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think they do it because they think, okay, we need young horses because then they can play together, and especially stallions, they play a little bit rougher, but a gelding also played that before. When it's older, it can still take a stallion. But people are just very, how do you say that? They are very careful with young horses. They're like diamonds. They need to treat them. Oh, okay, we put them with young horses because then they can play and be rough with each other. But no, I think variety in age in a herd is very important, especially with young horses.
Definitely. Yes. And this is on another topic, but I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on the bits versus bitless debate. Controversial, I know, but it's interesting to talk about.
Well, if you look at my Instagram or my Facebook or anything, then you will see some very scary bits. So I am obviously not pro bitless or anything. I think everyone should do what fits their best and their horse. I think not every horse, just with training methods, you really need to look, what does my horse needs? I rather see someone riding with a bit on two pinkies and a very soft contact than seeing that same person ride bitless with a very harsh hand because their horse won't react good to it. So yeah, I think it's about the horse and the people that is riding the horses. And yeah, I just think everyone should do what feels good for them. And I think it's an endless discussion.
Absolutely, but I think that's a really good answer. What horse-related purchase has most positively impacted your life in the last 12 months?
Well, I have a quite obsession with tack. I love bridles, I love saddles, I love everything. And since 2018, I'm collecting bridles and different sort of saddles from different styles, and I own 4 styles right now. And in 2020, I think a couple months ago, I bought a Dober and Partner Amaranth saddle. It's an old school saddle. Well, it's not old, but it's designed like an old school saddle. I think the 16th century. And it actually gives me so much more insights to develop my seat differently, because you're not sitting in the saddle, you're really sitting on the saddle, and you're not stuck in a sort of position. So the first time I got on, my legs were wobbling everywhere, and right now it really helped me to get a better seat. So yeah, I really love that purchase, and I'm glad that I did it.
It's so nice when you find a saddle that you absolutely love. It makes all the difference for both you and the horse. Now I'd like to know from you, if you could have dinner with any 3 horse people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, I found this such a hard question, because I barely have people that I look up to, because I don't want to take over someone's work, and that's something that happens quickly when you look very up to someone. You want to do the same as them, so I try not to do that, but I of course have people that inspire me. So definitely Warwick Schiller, because I think the journey he made in horsemanship is incredible, and I can learn so much from that. I love listening to his podcast. And I also absolutely adore Alice Fromé. I watched her live one time, and I was just in awe about what she did with her horses. It was incredible. So I would love to talk about the combination dressage and liberty, what she does. And I think Arne Koets, because he is a historic rider, and I think we can learn so much from the old ways of horse riding. By now, everything has got so more modern, but the basics of historic riding are so interesting. So I would love to talk about that with those people.
That would definitely be an interesting dinner conversation between the 4 of you. Now, if you could turn back the time and talk to yourself maybe 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself and why?
Yeah, I will go for 10, because 20, I wasn't born yet. I think I would say to myself that I should never feel ashamed about having fun with my horses. I still have sometimes that my neighbors are very competitive riders, completely different world than what I'm doing. So sometimes when you're working with your horse in my riding arena, they peek through the stables from their horses and they see me playing with my horse and rearing up and everything. And they're watching me like, what the hell is she doing? When I was younger, I got like ashamed, and I always only played with my horses when I was alone at the stables. But right now, I just don't give a damn anymore. I have fun, and everyone can hear that, and everyone can see that. So yeah, I will probably tell myself, never feel ashamed of having fun with your horses.
That is so beautiful and such a good message for people to hear, because I've been there where I'm a little bit almost embarrassed about what I'm doing. I mean, I'm totally owning it now, but a lot of people, especially when they first start to experiment, their friends start to go, oh, what is she doing? That's not normal. But really, it's the way it should be. So it's so nice to hear that from you. And I know that you are kind of experimenting yourself without being coached by anyone in particular. But I'd like to know how you're continuing to learn about horses and what you're currently studying, if there's anything.
Well, my goal right now is to teach as much as possible, to get more experience with different kind of horse personalities and also personalities from people. Because I think that is teaching you so much. You can read so much in books and everything, but I think experience is the key in horse training. So yeah, my goal is to really get more experience than I'm already have. But right now I'm not studying anything. I just graduated my own education, and I'm not planning to do so, but if something comes on my path, I'm willing to take the chance to develop myself in a study.
Sometimes it's nice to be in that place where you're not necessarily studying anything, but you're just experimenting with your own horses and your own methods. And it's so true what you said about you learn a lot teaching. I've done a lot more teaching in the past 12 months, and I feel like I've learned so much when I'm just explaining to my students what it is that I do. And I go, oh yeah, I do it that way. So yeah, you definitely learn a lot teaching. What's that saying? It's something like, something along the lines of, in order to know something really well, you need to teach it to someone else.
Yeah, because then you know how to also tell other people it, because that's very difficult when you teach. Sometimes you face a problem with a student and then you're like, okay, how am I going to tell this person how we can fix it? And in the beginning I was really thinking, and oh my God, I don't know. And then I was also like, sorry, but I don't know how to explain it to you, but you need to do it like this. But over the time, you learn how to express yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of those people who are really good with horses, if they don't teach, years will go by and suddenly they don't actually know how to explain what it is that they do, because it's all off of feel. So yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. So if your horses could talk with words, what do you think they would say to you, and what would you like to say to them?
Oh my God. Well, I actually wrote this down because, I would tell them that I'm very happy with them in my life, and I'm utterly grateful that they also like living with me as what I see, and that I love them absolutely much. It sounds very cheesy. It's such a cheesy answer. And what would they say to me? I hope they would answer that last question, do they love me, with a positive answer. So I hope they are just as grateful as me for having them in my life.
That's such a beautiful answer. I often think about what would I answer to that question if I was interviewing myself. And I was the same. I think I just love my horses to know that I love them, and I want them to tell me that they love me. We've got a few questions here from some listeners. I put a story up earlier asking if anyone would like to ask you some questions. So we've got some last minute ones. So this one's really good. What are your tips for forming a relationship with a new horse and learning to understand them?
What I did when Yakari came into my life, I really took my time to just sit with him. I just sit in his stable, in the pasture, and let him get used to my energy on different days. And in the beginning, I actually didn't ask him too much. Like, I didn't ride him. The only thing we did was play and have fun with each other and get to know each other in a very, very basic way. So I never asked him too much in the beginning. And after we knew each other and I trusted him to sit in the pasture without a horse constantly being in your face or anything, then I started to do groundwork and really took it to the whole beginning. Even though he already was familiar with lunging, I started completely all over again from zero. So when you get a new horse, I would recommend to see what they already know, how they learn, how quick they learn, and really take your time to get used to their energy.
Yeah, so basically spend a lot of time just doing really nothing with your horse, just sitting with them.
Yeah.
And having fun with them, playing with them, starting over from scratch with groundwork. And I guess, those things summarize how you would kind of form that relationship with a new horse. I think that's really nice. We've got another question here. What are your favorite horse books?
This is a hard one because I barely read any books. But at the moment I'm reading it's from Greetje Hakvoort. I don't know if you know her. She's very familiar here in the Netherlands. She performs the academic art of riding, and she has an online platform where she also sells the book she wrote. And I currently have that book and I'm reading it. And there are so many parts, and I'm like, yes, I agree. And that's something that doesn't happen a lot. I think that's a great book that I'm reading right now. And I'm hoping to get my hands on, what is it called? Das Gymnasium des Pferds. It's a German book, but it's so expensive. And so I'm trying to find it secondhand for such a long time. But every time they ask in 300 euros for that book, and I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not going to pay that for a book. But I'm hope to get my hands on that book and read it. But right now it's the one from Greetje Hakvoort.
Yeah, some of the prices of these really well sought after books are just through the roof. I know Warwick Schiller just recommended on one of his social media platforms the Tom Dorrance book, True Feel Through Horsemanship, I think it's called. And I just ordered it online for like 280 Australian.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, there's none left. They're not printing them anymore. This is an investment. Hopefully it'll be worth it. Okay, so before we wrap up, can you tell us what is next for you and where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? So what is your ultimate goal with horses?
What is next for me is what I already told before, is to teach more on location. And I'm having training weekends this summer, which I'm very excited about, and I hope to do that for a very long time. And in 10 years, I hope to live on a bigger facility to keep more horses and train more horses. and make the horses my work, because right now it's something I do next to my work. So I really try to make a living out of it. And I hope to build an online platform where people can subscribe to, and who knows, start a podcast.
Yes, you definitely should start a podcast. Maybe I can be a guest on your podcast when you eventually do it.
Yeah, that will be fun.
You so should do that. So can you tell us, where can our guests find out more about you?
You can find more about me on Facebook and Instagram under the username @Equine Motions. And I have a website, but it's only in Dutch. But if any Dutch people are listening, it's www.equinemotions.com.
Thank you so much. I will place links to those in the show notes for this episode. Thanks again so much for being here and for answering all these questions. I absolutely loved hearing what you have to say, and I'm sure that our guests will learn so much from listening to you. And if you ever come to Australia, you'll have to come and say hi and meet my horses.
Yeah, I would love that. I really want to go to Australia because I know some great people on Instagram also that are living in Australia. So if I go there one day, I will also visit you.
Yes, absolutely. It's so great, this Instagram, this social media platform, so many like-minded people connecting from all over the world. It's so great to see. So thank you once again for being here, and I will hopefully connect with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get notified every time a new episode is released. And if you've learned even just one small thing from today's show, I would really appreciate if you could leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions from today's show, suggestions for future episodes, or just want to reach out and say hi, I would love to connect with you on Instagram @Amalia_horses. Remember to also register for my free connection and communication mini course at amaliadempsey.com.